Hey, what a game that was, huh?
You mean the first half?
I mean the whole thing. There was a lot of drama. First half was fun. Second half I thought was fun for a different reason, and they drew. Which, what does that do for the table?
I mean, I did call that at halftime, I guess, now that I think about it. This sets
A
up
draw.
nicely for a draw, which helps, helps Chelsea and Liverpool for sure. Obviously, since we're the other two contenders at this point.
I mean, Villa is good too.
Yeah, Villa's good. Villa's good.
Durant.
I think there's 6 teams that are kind of in it. I think still for the title race. If you talk to Ange, there's 7 teams in it for the title race. So, I mean, that's pretty good.
Who's the 6th? Who would you say is the 6th?
I mean, Newcastle's on 10 points.
Yeah, but they don't look good. They got wrecked yesterday by
it's not gonna. Yeah, I mean, they're not gonna win it, but I mean, they're in it.
Yeah, I don't think Newcastle is in the hunt for a title. I don't think Chelsea is either. But maybe I'll be proven wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Yeah, we should talk about that, I guess.
Yeah.
As it pertains to Chelsea.
Well, how was your weekend, man? What have you been into?
What the hell I went to Whiskey in the Waterfront yesterday. That was actually a good time. That I don't know if I've talked about it with you before, but yeah, that space where Sagamore Distillery is now, and they built Rye Street Tavern, is really nice waterfront space. There's like real grass. So they had food trucks and some other stuff there, but just general, I think that's going to be a good spot for events. The whole Baltimore Peninsula thing.
Sick. Yeah.
They're having the craft brewery festival is there next month. They're having that distillers thing I sent out, so that'll be good for Baltimore to have kind of another waterfront spot with stuff going on. But that was a good time. Went with Jess and Heather. So
okay,
Jess Taylor.
Oh.
I didn't mean for that to be an ambiguous statement. I could tell from the face. Not sure how to address that the confusion on the show. But anyways, yeah, that one.
I gotta move on.
Quick, what's the next transition? Just hit some random sound effects on the board. We're going to something else.
Football Yanks therapy session.
Yeah, no, we can only have those with Luke's present. I don't want to trauma dump on you without Luke present to kind of diffuse the situation. But
dude, that fucked me up. That
you can see that's a good thing about being on video. I can see your facial reactions.
I'm gonna have to watch that back. It felt like I got punched in the solar plex. So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you missed Jess and Heather arguing with me about whether there was ever a Walmart in Port Covington, because they've all lived in Baltimore longer than I have, and I said I used to go to the Walmart. I knew it was there.
The scary Walmart.
Yeah, it was the shittiest Walmart I've probably ever been to or will be, and that's why it closed. They're like, it's not there. I'm like, yeah, I know it's not there anymore.
What?
They literally tore it down because it's a shithole.
I thought it was like an iconic Baltimore thing.
Till 2016. No, I think literally there are articles published on it, and I talked to people that used to work there, and I think even years before that, it was on the national radar amongst people that worked at Walmart in terms of inventory shrinkage and theft and all of those things. And so it wasn't even profitable.
That's what I meant. I meant iconic in the sense that hold on, I'm turning my other speaker off.
Salimian probably remembers some of the stories from going in there. But yeah, I mean, it was just a different show every time you went in there.
Yeah.
That's what I meant above the normal threshold of what a Walmart is, right? Which is really saying something.
If you could imagine, if you have seen The Wire, and then there was a Walmart on The Wire.
Yeah.
Literally, there's this iconic internet meme on the Baltimore subreddit from years and years ago, where they renamed sections of the city, and that spot where the Walmart was just scary Walmart.
I need to find this and send it to them because they were like adamant. They're like, "You're full of shit, Derek.
Yeah,
You're just making
and then
this
there
up."
was
I'm
like,
no.
single Safeway, the Canton Safeway.
That makes sense. But anyway, so that was yesterday. I guess I would ask how you're doing, but this more importantly, I just want you to understand that this proposal thing is really bad timing from my perspective, and I don't like it. So
yeah.
I'm not really concerned about how it's going to affect your life. I need to make a stop at Baltimore Distilling to pick up my order, and now I have no reason to stop and have a drink with anyone in Hamden because you're writing proposals, and Shannon. I assume Shannon doesn't drink outside of like a 1 to 2 hour period she's allocated on Fridays because otherwise, it's just so bad for your health to have more than one alcoholic beverage in a week.
She
was not happy with our last episode on that subject either, but it made sure to voice her displeasure to me personally.
No, she would like me to say more positive things. I feel like I do. Like I think she's amazing. I talk about her races all the time.
That's true. Yeah, we literally talk about her completing 100-milers. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In her dedication to her training regimen. Yeah, I mean, like, but what are we gonna do? We're not gonna like really self-reflect on ourselves and how much of a disparity there is between our level of like control of our lives and Shannon's. Like, that's not gonna paint us in a positive light. I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, definitely not.
But maybe I'll offer to buy her a drink and next time I'm in Hamden and try to smooth things over. I don't know.
I really, not to rehash this, but I was like really confused by her taking issue with me describing her as being in rough shape. Like she pushes herself to the limit.
You've told the story
week.
about her coming out of the woods bleeding one too many times for her liking, I would guess.
Yeah, I just I don't even know like how she could think she's like in ship shape. Like every morning she wakes up, you just don't get to be that if you're pushing yourself the way she is. But,
right? Yeah, that's the cost of doing business sometimes.
I did find the image that I was referencing, so I can send that.
Perfect.
To you
I'm just
later,
gonna send that right to Heather and Jess. So Jess checked with her dad, so she knows now that it was a real Walmart. But video or picture evidence will help land.
Fed
things.
Hill they have labeled as frat boys and sorostitutes, like sorority.
Yeah. I feel like I did see this back in the day. Jogging my memory.
There's a rich condo D-bags area.
And is that like on the water in Fed Hill?
Yeah.
There you go.
Douchey CrossFitters in Harbor East.
Yeah, there you go. Otherwise known as Exelon Bros. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It looks like Canton is labeled as slacktivists and yacht owners.
That's weird because, Tom doesn't own a yacht, but yeah, I wonder where the sailors live. I guess they must live in Locust Point, and that's where they used to live.
There's it looks like, where is Hamden?
Is Hamden like the Prius Owners Association or something like that?
Drunks and Punks.
Okay. It's not far from Autobar. That's fine.
Yeah. And then hipsters. Yeah, above that is just hipsters. Yeah, I think that applies. There's so many sections that are just labeled as The Wire.
Where are the late 30s alcoholics on that map?
And
does it have my apartment complex
just
marked?
Labeled as heroin.
Oh, yeah.
And you will get shot here.
That hasn't been, so it probably hasn't been updated for like the heroin and fentanyl geography of Baltimore that's developed over the last 5 years. So they probably need to go back through and redistrict that on Reddit.
There's multiple scary malls on here. Only one scary Walmart. Anyway, I'll pass this on. So let's talk about, I guess, the Arsenal match.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't know how much we're expected to recap these things, but yeah, I mean, obviously after the red for the double yellow right at halftime, my guess was that it was going to take them a bit to break through, and this ended up in a tie. I didn't see it taking till literally the last minute, and I'm actually surprised they didn't hold it. I thought they had kind of secured the win. In a sense, I liked that in that upon greater reflection, right? Like, I'd rather see the game not influenced by that red card. I think just especially from like a, as an independent observer, right, or a casual fan, like the second half was shit, and that tie result probably isn't what would have happened without the second yellow, which I think is not reflective of the spirit of the game or the way it was played or the way Arsenal played, as much as I dislike Arsenal and Arteta and any number of players of that team. But Arsenal kind of went into that game from step one with an edge. I don't mind Havertz running through Rodri to start the game, but I think unfortunate for Rodri to go out with an apparent serious knee injury, and to see Trossard take that yellow at the end of the half and get sent off and kind of change the rest of the game.
Yeah. I'm trying to...
I think City was a bit one-dimensional again in trying to get into this, trying to break through. And I think we've seen this before in teams where they pack it in. But that's what they're going to face, and they seem comfortable playing against it. And in the end, they get the tie. I mean, I guess if you think about it, right, you would have liked to have seen them try something different to break through, like whether it's and maybe that's what he was telling Foden at the end. I don't know. They probably don't say, right, but he took Foden and who was over? Maybe it was Kovacic. I don't know, or Silva, but. I would think at some point, instead of trying to get to the end line and spray it to Haaland, which almost worked a couple times, you've got to try and do something to break the line with a give and go, and just play through them. But Arsenal was set up well, and they kind of closed that down pretty well. I just don't know. It seemed like City was bereft of ideas at that point.
Yeah. I think that, so my thoughts around this, in the first half, so first of all, Arsenal lethal on set pieces. You cannot give up set pieces to these guys. No,
because at this point, Gabriel's just yeeting himself through the air, and he doesn't care if he's going to take a Trossard yellow. Like, he's just flying through the fucking six. Yeah,
Gabriel... I think back-to-back matches with a set-piece goal.
Yeah.
So, and then, I mean, there's a lot of threats. Like, we've seen Ben White score a set-piece goal for them. I don't know. They have a lot of aerial threats. It's just it's you don't want to put yourself in that position, and that was the difference really in the first half. The only real difference between the two, like if you look at the first half, 0.6 expected goals apiece, 2 big chances apiece, 5 shots for City, 4 shots for Arsenal, 1 goalkeeper save made by Arsenal, 2 corner kicks apiece. Like it was so even in the first half. And then you look at the second, and it's like, I mean, that really, like, I guess that's the one issue I have with what you said, is that that card definitely influenced this game, and we won't know. Arsenal would have had a far easier time seeing that out, at full strength.
Yeah, conceivably they would have won without that.
Yeah. And I guess we should talk about that card. So what do you think? Do you think that is a deserved card?
I think, again, the overarching theme is the lack of consistency and clarity and everything, right? And that's more predominant to me than worrying about whether it was really a yellow. I think that you can give a yellow, and it's understood you can get a yellow for just flying through the air into somebody's back. Now, I think the bigger issue is how reliable those calls are, and if we're thinking about it pragmatically again, we've talked about this too. Like, is the refereeing going with the spirit of the game and giving you the best product on field? Like, giving him a second yellow there and setting him off probably isn't the best thing for the competitiveness of the game. And if you don't do that, it's not like you're putting anyone in grave danger, I don't think. But certainly not unreasonable, in my opinion, to give somebody a yellow there. And like, as a defender, as a player, right? Like, I'm perfectly okay people challenging each other for a 50-50 ball, but when somebody's coming like completely perpendicular through the air, for a ball that you have the right to win through your back, like, I can understand why it's given as a yellow. Similar to the the tackle from behind in the Brighton game, right? Like, the bigger problem is, like, you've got to make a decision at some point that either when you win the ball and you come through the back, it's still a yellow, or you need to make a decision as a league that if you win the ball first and there's continued contact through that tackle, then it's not a yellow. But I don't know why it's so ambiguous, and I don't understand the consistency of it at all.
Yeah, So I looked somebody in our Discord said that that should have been, if like the ref truly believed that was reckless, or am I getting these things mixed up?
Well, I think one of the comments was like, one of the comments and takeaways is that it wasn't an immediate decision. Like, he sat there and thought about the yellow for both of those, I think. Really.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems soft to me. I looked up, I think it was because actually of the Brighton match, the Brighton Forest match, the sending off in that one, Gibbs White. I think that's so. The refs are given a lot of rope on these calls. I looked up the rule book for one. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was that one, the Brighton against Gibbs White. He flew into a tackle from behind, kind of scissored the defender, got ball for sure. But the refs are given a lot of rope to make a judgment call based on how reckless a challenge is. And they can, it ranges from, so the comment in our Discord was, if it was reckless, it should have just been a straight red and not a second yellow and a red for accumulation. And in the rule book, the FA rule book, they are given the rope to award just a free kick or go so far as to give a straight red. And it's their judgment on how reckless it was and how far they want to take that judgment, I guess,
right,
on that range. Which that's a lot. That's a lot of ambiguity around that. And you want to see Michael Oliver to have, like you said, the understanding of the state of the game and the impact that'll have on that game and the magnitude of it. And like, this is like sort of unsatisfying if you want things to be really exacting, but you don't give that card, I don't think, for that level of contact in that, like, given all of those factors. Maybe you give it if the game's out of hand, which I mean, it was kind of getting out of hand, but if it's someone's first yellow and the game's really physical and you're trying to calm things down, then fine. But I just see that. I see people come through the back on a header, a 50-50 ball, like multiple times a match with, like, very little consistency, like you said, in the level of punishment as a result. So, I don't know. The other big story in this one is Rodri. Now, Derek is our resident knee injury expert. What are your thoughts on this one?
I'm expert at rehabbing. I'm not diagnosing him.
I heard the announcers say, so just to dispel any hope that City fans may have here, not to say that you shouldn't have any hope, but you can't wave away how severe this injury might be, because you can walk off with a torn ACL. Like, you can still walk. So the announcers were like, Rodri's walking off, like, he should be fine. Something like that.
Yeah, part of it is I try not to watch the replays of this stuff. I realize as we're talking about it, because like I saw it, I'm like, that's unfortunate, moved on. And yeah, I mean, it seems like they did some there's been enough analysis by video that suggests, based on the movement and the shift of the knee and the way he went down, the direction, that he likely tore his ACL. And typically, you know, as I can comment on this piece, like when you have that torn ACL and the knee move, the leg buckles that way, you often have some secondary damage to the meniscus as well, which is kind of tertiary to the ACL injury and the need for a reconstruction there, because that's obviously season ending. And at this stage in his career altering, if we're being honest. I forget how old he is, but he's not. I'm
28?
28 or above, right?
Yeah.
But definitely come back from. But I mean, that's the end of the season, right? And I don't know, could really impact his international career too.
And they are not the same team without him.
Well, I think there's two problems there, right? Like, even with Gundogan, they already had a lack of depth at defensive mid. And yes, and then they're so reliant upon him. And it kind of bridges into one of the other topics that we could tackle at the end, but like, you know, playing time and minutes for top tier players at this point. But yeah, I mean, I think they could still win the Premier League without him, especially since they brought Gundogan in to provide cover, and they're going to have so much possession of the ball anyways. But he is, like, you know, I'm not his biggest fan personally, but I hate to see him go out for the season with an ACL tear, and I think he brought something to this team that's completely irreplaceable, right? And we've talked about that kind of at length.
Yeah. Next international. So City, their injuries right now are Ake is out until the next international break. I think Oscar Bob is like done for the season. I think 3 to 4 months after suffering a fracture. Yeah, he's undergoing surgery. I don't know what part of his... So Oscar Bob's out. Now, he was just like on the fringe of breaking into the team. KDB picked up some injury in their CL fixture in the middle of the week, and he was doubtful today. They don't seem to think that that's a significant injury, so maybe he comes back. But yeah, Rodri and KDB being out is tragic for this team. And then on Arsenal, you've got Kieran Tierney, Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, Mikael Merino, and Odegaard out. Odegaard's going to be out for a while, I think.
Yeah.
So both of these teams with really significant injuries. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, it spices up the title fight for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so anytime I see a player go down without contact, I just assume the worst. And I think that he was obviously in a ton of pain. They did I forget the test, the Lockman test on him on the field. Like, you could see their suspicion is that he did his ACL.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the circumstances are similar to how I tore my ACL in college playing basketball. Like, you can, you know, it was it's not completely, it's non-contact in the sense that like it wasn't from somebody kicking him in the leg or scissoring him or something, but like you get pushed enough off balance and you go to plant, the weight's not where you set your foot to shift, right, and it buckles. And I think that's essentially what happened there, because he made a pretty aggressive run through the box, and the defender, rightly wanted to push him off of that line, and you end up in a precarious situation.
Yeah, so this one ends 2-2, and that leaves your top 5 at the closeout of match day 5, I think. I think this is, match day 5. Man City, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Arsenal, Chelsea. Definitely one, I would say 2 inclusions that I'm a little surprised by. But Villa look good, man. They've got a squad, and we can talk about them a bit here in a moment. Let's take a detour, because you started to go down this path, and this is definitely something I want to cover today. So, really vocal. I think it was either at the international break or in the press conferences. I think it was the international break. It was either that or the press conferences around the Champions League expanded format this week.
Yeah.
Rodri was one of the players who was willing to allude to the idea that the players are being run into the ground and a strike is on the table. Now, in the Discord, you said you had a lot to say about this, so I'm going to yield the floor to you and let you...
I said I have an unpopular opinion on it, but I guess and it's obviously it's interesting in the sense that unfortunately he went down with an injury then this week, and he that's after having played. I went back and looked every minute in their midweek against that was Inter, right?
Inter, yeah.
Which 35 shots, 0 goals between the two teams. Make of that what you will, but played every minute in that, and again, doesn't have cover now. So, he's. I think there's a couple of things to think about here. One is it's fine to get in the press and say there's a problem, but what are you doing about it? Have you actually talked to Pep about maybe signing a defensive midfielder that's on the class of above Calvert-Lewin, or not Calvert-Lewin, Calvin Phillips, or anyone to give you cover there. No, I think he's gone. But I mean, now there's no one, right? There's no. I mean, Rico can play there, but he's a different type of defensive midfielder. Or Stones might have to slot in. Maybe that's what happens, right? But anyways,
Phillips is on loan to Ipswich.
I thought they'd sold him, so he's on loan, but for a lot of these it's tough for me to understand in the City, Chelsea, Arsenal, United, Liverpool realm, right? If they want to challenge for multiple trophies a season, that's fine, but you can't spend $100 million on Haaland and then say, oh, well, I didn't have enough money to go spend time on getting a cover for a set of defensive midfielders, so I don't have to play Rodri every single minute in what's ultimately an inconsequential Champions League game midweek that ends 0-0, right? And City's going to go through and Inter's going to go through in the Champions League, regardless of the outcome of that match, right? And I'm sure it matters for seeding and stuff, but you can't tell me that you need to play every starter every minute of every game, right? United goes out and plays Garnacho and they win 9-2. Okay, but again, was the goal differential really going to matter that much that you need to have any starters out there? There's 23, 24 players on these teams. They have options and they have cover at every position. So why are we playing starters every game? So I think that the players absolutely have a point, right? You can't just push them to play more and more without them breaking. But I wonder about the alternatives, not just from a team standpoint or a player standpoint, right? When these players are agreeing to take 15, 20, $30 million a year contracts, right? Are they trying to negotiate maximum minutes played? Are they working with their national teams to try and limit the amount of exposure, unnecessary wear and tear that's going on there? Like these UEFA Nations games, the last international break, we've talked about how bad the quality of the international breaks are. It's like, why are you playing first team players? Like, I understand you have to develop chemistry and stuff, but you're also trying to develop a talent pool at that point, right? And evaluate fringe players. And so, like, what a proven commodity Rodri is. I just don't know that, you're getting a lot of value out of beating the crap out of them in an international break when they're already playing every minute because Pep doesn't have an alternative. So, I mean, I think their point's valid. I just don't know that, like, saying we're going to go strike is step one in trying to address this stuff.
You don't think that is?
I think the club should be doing something about it. I think the
striking would impact the club. So like the
but
players
he's sitting there in the press conference threatening to strike to who I guess is to the owners or who he's threatening to strike to. But
it would impact all of them. It would impact the federations. It would impact the teams. It would impact everyone.
But so has he had that conversation with Pep about, hey, I don't know. It's not healthy to play. Well, that's what I mean. But we're here talking about it as if like striking is the next logical step. I don't know that it is. I do think that it should be put on the owners and the team to address, and I agree with him on that rather than on the players. But
yeah, I think that you're assigning a lot more agency to the players than they actually have. So, like, as an isolated example, City have these really precise tactics that Pep famously likes to keep a small team for, and this has been an issue for seasons with him. Where they take injuries and they really suffer. Like they had Rodri out for a lot of last season, and that they were in poor form, and once he returned, they came back. And that's this like system-based style of managing teams lends itself to needing a tight squad where you don't have a lot of backup, a lot of depth. I think that I've heard mention of players starting to toy with the idea as their contracts renew and the schedule is expanded that they're going to put match limits in their contract. And I think that that's a step they could take. But they're locked in. I don't know. Like,
yeah, they signed a 5-year contract 5 years ago. They're stuck with, 2 years ago they're stuck with that contract. And to your point, right? Like it's not unlike the NFL in the sense that certain players have more agency than others. I just think that players like Rodri and Mbappe and whoever else, right, that are competing for those top tier contracts have that level of agency. And
so this is one area where I think Chelsea has been very vocal while people have criticized the size of their squad, the amount of bloat. They've been very vocal about the fact that they have assessed the number of matches on their schedule, on their plate for this season, to include the Club World Cup, which City will also be a participant in. And they've determined it's like 140 games or something that they have to play.
Yeah, it's just math from there, right?
Yeah. And so they have, like, Cole Palmer's not even registered to the squad for Europe. Like, they made that announcement.
Yeah.
Like, they are heavily rotating, trying to compete on all fronts, but they've spread their risk across multiple players at multiple positions. And, yeah, they may not have like A+ chemistry in every match they play, and some matches will be more important than others, but yeah, like they seem to have been progressive in that way. Both Arsenal and City, they keep a very tight squad, and these players play a lot of minutes, and like you've seen the toll that it takes on Saka too. Like people have been crying out for true backup to Bukayo Saka. I don't know, but the players I don't think have. I don't know, but I to me, like, striking is it's a fine choice, because they need to, like, the primary issue here, as far as I can tell, is the governing body for the international game and the governing body for the the conference, the European conferences. They've added a whole nother conference. They've added this expanded format. Fans demand it. They want more games, and so it's like money that's on the table. But the only check against those guys who are it's just a collection of, like, as far as I can tell, rich guys who are pretty disconnected from the actual product on the field, just padding the schedule. Like, who was asking for a 32-team Club World Cup? Who was asking for them to expand the World Cup? Nobody, like...
Yeah, it's a money grab.
Yeah, it's all a money grab. And
at the end, but to that point, right? Like, it's only a money grab because the fans will watch it and they'll pay to go to the games. But yeah, it's a money grab, and that's what's at the heart of all of this.
Yeah. So the clubs, I don't know. Like, when the clubs' incentives are aligned with the governing body's incentives, and the one tool the players have, to my mind, is to refuse to play, beyond starting to put match limits in their contract. But that's going to take years to implement. That's going to have to be like a unified call, and then as contracts renew, they have to. And I would encourage them to do that.
Yeah.
The NBA has been, like, way out ahead of this. Do you remember, like, how much they were... like Leonard, I forget how you say
Leonard,
he started putting like game limits in his contract like 8 years ago or something. Like, he was way out ahead of this. He recognized the wear on his body, and there's definitely been a lot more limits put in place. They're talking about this in the NHL too, how they're going to have to start limiting the number of games that players play because they're more effective in the impactful games if they're rested. Yeah, I don't know. It's a mess. The soccer schedule's crazy. It is so crazy. And then, the international piece, I agree. Like, all of that. Like, that international break that just happened, I think you said this. Just give them a week off. Like, I would much prefer just a week off than any of those international matches. And I don't... Who's watching it? I didn't watch any of that shit.
I couldn't motivate myself to watch. I mean, there's
fucking
like one
Ireland
or two decent UEFA Nations League matches in there, but I think they would have been better served playing, secondary players that are looking for the minutes. And
there were many players who declined. Like, Cole Palmer didn't go.
Yeah. True.
Wesley Fofana didn't go. There are players who have, like, recognized the issue and are declining to participate, but a lot of these players, like, they put more of a premium, I think. Like, the club pays for them, but they're like a lot of their ambitions rest with their legacy with their national team, and so...
Do you think Tottenham's approach of refusing to help their players with transportation back from the international break is a progressive move towards limiting their damage and exposure?
Yeah, I was sad that story... Was it that? Yeah. That story came out after their previous match. Romero?
Not gonna ding my P&L.
Well, whose responsibility is it to provide travel for that? I assumed it was the international team and not the... Why would the clubs pay to fly their asset?
I think it's about the speed with which they get back, right? And, like, how aggressively they schedule, like, what, like, private flights they need, or et cetera. Yeah, I mean...
Well, they're flying coach at Tottenham.
And so that's more the issue, right? Like, it's the disparity between Osimhen, flying Emirates private... I don't know what service that would be, but and then Tottenham flying, United coach in a middle seat, but What are you gonna do?
Yeah, Romero, to like, as far as I can tell, Romero is starting to jockey for an out from that piece of shit club, and I don't blame him. He was like real. He seems to be getting more and more frustrated. You're right. I wonder if he's like a fit. Like anyone's gonna put up with his shit elsewhere. But he's probably a good enough player, to your point, that somebody would. He's not been very good this season. It's too bad Luke hasn't been on for a little bit, because I would love to ask him.
How much of this story about Luke being very busy is believable at this point versus just he's watching the results and he's like,
I don't know.
I can't deal with these two fucking assholes on top of my other obligations in life.
Yeah, I think he's pretty. I don't know. I don't want to like quarterback whatever's going on there.
He already has to see me once a week on Monday, so maybe that's enough.
We have to like practically beg him to tell us if he's going to make it or not. Like today, he's doing interviews he and his wife are putting on another play, and they're interviewing for stage managers. Play. But there's no shot that he didn't know that was happening at the beginning of his week. You have to have applicants to then interview them.
Yeah. So, I was about to ask him, like, should I just deal with his executive admin moving forward so I just have the schedule in front of me and that we don't have to go through the middleman?
Yeah. I don't know. Dude's busy. I mean, he's got a job that's like really, I think, erratic and demanding, and and then he's super supportive of his wife's ambitions, which is really dope.
And then they collaborate on stuff too, right? So like that's
yeah. I mean, he helps with stage design. I don't think that like theater is his passion. I think that's squarely her passion, but he just like gets involved as much as he can to support her, which is cool.
And then on top of that, he has his individual creative pursuits.
So I mean, he's just got a lot going on. We're always
I wouldn't know what that's. I don't know what it's like to balance multiple priorities or have like other useful outlets for things.
Like sometimes like a 9 to 5 can be like soul sucking, but also it does like add consistency that he doesn't have, right? Like, so he asked us last week how the hell we're not busy, and it's just like, well, we have jobs where the weekend is the weekend. Like
true.
Yep. And that's probably some of the busiest, like some of the best days for him to be like selling his he's as a liquor dealer. But I don't know. Moving on. So do you want to talk about this Brighton Forest match?
Not at length, to be honest. But I mean, I do think it was a good match. Despite two red cards in that. One was to the coach, right?
2 to the coaches.
Yeah, both coaches received red cards. Morgan Gibbs-White receives his red card in the 83rd minute for a double yellow on the aforementioned tackle from behind we were discussing earlier. Ends 2-2, which I don't know that that's an unfair result in this one. I think they both had progressive moments in this game. I think Forest's defense is more shoddy than not most of the time. But overall they've taken a step forward this season. Some of the things we've talked about in terms of their attacking talent have finally taken foothold. They started Woods, Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi, and Alonga in this game. Like, that's a pretty progressive front four. And Brighton maybe has taken a step back overall versus last season.
The striker they picked up, what's his name? Let's see if I can find
Evan Ferguson makes an appearance in this one.
Is it Rudier? Jorginho Reuter. I don't know. I guess he was deployed as a 10 behind Welbeck in the starting 11.
I see who you're talking about. Yeah.
They picked him up. He's a new add to their team. He has not been clinical at all. He's had some like absolutely sterling opportunities, and he has not been able to take advantage. And I do find it, I didn't get any nobody bid on this in the Discord, but I find it odd that they sent Buonanotte to, I think he's at Leicester. I feel like he was pretty lethal for them at periods last season. That's
I don't know. I thought he was a bit of a fringe play. I remember you making that comment, and I thought about it, and I didn't have anything to say. And I don't know him well enough to have anything to say about it now. To be honest,
he scored a ridiculous goal against Chelsea. I mean, we still beat them, but I
mean, Hinchelwood had a good one in center midfield for them. Good game and a good goal today. And I think I probably should mention that too, right? Like we thought like having Ward-Prowse on Forrest was like a really disparate, would have, I don't know, much more of a positive impact than it has. And like this Forrest defense and midfield still just can't exert any control in a game. Like they had less than 30% possession in this one. They're not going to get.
I think this is wild. The Brighton took 14 shots. Forrest took 4.
Yeah.
Forrest on 4 shots produced an XG of 1.53 to Brighton's 0.94.
Yeah.
So like Forrest is scary.
They've got attackers,
yeah. Like they just cut right through you, and teams need to be on high alert.
I mean, granted, one of those is a PK, right? But I mean,
a lot of that is from the PK. Yeah, that's true. They don't have non-penalty XG here. I forgot about that.
I don't even know how they include.
Well, I think we can pretty easily. So it looks like in the first half they were at 0.86, so like probably 0.85.
Yeah,
is for a penalty. Yeah. Anyway, Forest they can be scary, man. What happens with coaches? Do they miss 2 matches now?
Don't know.
They both managers sent off in this one with straight reds.
I feel like it's one of those things where like, the FA will evaluate it and determine based on the infraction. But I could be wrong about that. But I think if it's 2 games for players, you would think it's 2 games for managers. But I feel like they usually don't miss. I don't remember managers missing 2. I remember them missing 1.
Yeah.
So I think it can be extended to 2. I'm thinking it's 1. Could be wrong about that, but
yeah. So Buonanotte, he played 40 matches for Brighton last season. He only scored 4 times. I must have caught all 4 of those goals somehow in the matches I watched, because I just remember him like there being games where he would receive the ball, he would absolutely torch someone, and he has a really good left foot. I don't know. But he was definitely not fringe for them last season. I when I found out he had been moved on, he's considered a very high ceiling young player, and I mean he's not been permanently moved on, but I thought it was bizarre that he was sent on loan.
I mean they have a fairly deep squad in a sense, but
yep, I agree with that. I'm just not sure that I rate Adingra higher than Buonanotte, and that's where my confusion is. Adingra is obviously very good. They're both like, I think at similar stages of their career. Let's see how wrong I am here.
Yeah, Adingra's had moments.
Yeah. He's scored more. Wait. I don't know. Was it Adingra? He was at Brighton last season. 23-24, he made 31 appearances, scored 6 goals. Yeah, so he was more clinical, less matches. then Buonanotte. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Lots of goals, lots of great matches this weekend. If you were a casual fan, I think this was a really, really good weekend full of interesting fixtures. We're going to talk about, what are we at?
50 minutes.
50, okay. Oh, that's where I was trying to look on my other monitor. 50 minutes. So what we can talk about Chelsea because I want to, and maybe we talk about Villa. But just to recap some other matches, Liverpool took Bournemouth to the sword 3-0, or put them to the sword. Southampton and Ipswich drew 1-1. Tottenham, after going down a goal, clawed back and won 3-1 against Brentford, who I guess Wissa got injured, and that's a huge loss for them. They've lost Tony and Wissa. Palace and Man United draw. I gotta be honest on this one. So 0-0 draw. Man United dominated this match. It felt like, and for that dude, a 1.7 xg with 0 goals scored is crazy. 15 shots to 9. That's more than I would have thought Palace even took. Let's see the first half.
I didn't realize they were playing. Oh, that's so it's odd. Yeah, I mean, they're not good. Højlund made an appearance in this one. I think that's going to help because Xerxes ain't it. As a starter, to me, like that's probably the biggest impact on like their ability to put one through.
Is he Dutch? He has to be. Yeah, he is. Xerxes Dutch.
Ahmad and Manu had like uncharacteristically like not great games. I mean, but I don't know. Again, like who are you bringing in there? No one. I mean, Eriksen played well, and like I know we all think he's past his prime, but like I don't know. Mount. Here you go. Mount unused sub. Maguire unused sub. Like we talk about like putting in minutes. Casemiro, unused sub. Anthony, unused sub. Like, this is where, like, you end up running people like Garnacho and Fernandes into the fucking ground. Because you've spent hundreds of millions of dollars to provide cover with bags of dirt that are just sitting on your sideline. Like, they should be fined by the FA for abusing their players.
Dude, the FA isn't going to do that. They want them doing this.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. The incentives are in sync for the owners, the coaches. The coaches want to win. The teams want to win. The teams want more games. Like all the incentives are play your best players every game.
And it's like that, in fairness, Palace has a good defense, a good back three. With Guehi and Richards back there, namely. LaCroix had an okay game, I thought, in this. I think his rating's a bit overstated. But anyways, I mean, they got overran in the midfield, and United couldn't do anything with it. So, nothing new there.
Yeah.
But Palace isn't a bad team, I think, especially relative to, like, where they're at in the table and their spending. United is a bad team relative to their stature and their spending.
Yeah, I don't.
And the talent that's on the team, to be honest.
I don't think Garnacho has played very much.
Yeah, maybe not. He has been rotated, and they were playing Rashford, who's just just useless. Like he needs to go somewhere else and just play every game or something in a lower division.
Trying to find the subs. He came on. No, he started. Right, he started. I remember this was weird. He started on the right against Liverpool.
Yeah, I remember you calling that out.
Yeah, very strange.
But anyway, so 0-0 tie there. Pretty, boring ass result out of that one. And Yeah, I think maybe the most interesting result of the weekend was Fulham trouncing Newcastle 3-1.
Oh yeah, yeah, that is an interesting scoreline. I also I was watching Goal Zone and haven't gone back to look at this match, so I don't know exactly what happened here. But
well, I think part of it, in looking at, well, no, that never mind. Yeah, I think I've seen their midfield be ineffective in equal match, in terms of matches with better or equal footing level squads, and I think this is another example of that, where when Fulham can get a foothold in their midfield, they're a very effective team. They don't always do that, but against Newcastle, I don't know why, but they just have not had an effective midfield and in control of the game. This one they had 61% possession, so that wouldn't suggest to you that's really the problem necessarily. But Fulham generated 22 shots in this one.
That's crazy. That's so direct.
There were 38 shots overall in this game.
That's so fucking direct. They had 39% possession with 22 shots.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm gonna have to go rewatch this one. That's so nuts. They produced 2.29 xg. Yeah. Was there a penalty in this?
I don't think
so. Yeah, dude. They produced 2.29 xg on 39% possession, 5 big chances, 22 total shots, forcing 8 saves to be made by Newcastle. So 11 total shots on goal, if you count the 3 that went in, right?
Yeah.
What a clinic put on by Fulham, who I don't think is that good.
They hadn't been.
You disagree, but
no, I think they hadn't been playing particularly well. I think they've been playing below their talent, and this is really the first game to that point that they've really put it together for me against a better competition, and kind of showed who I thought they were kind of going to be this season. But again, I don't know how much of that is Newcastle's midfield just folding the way they have in so many competitive matches.
Yeah, Isak, who was doubtful, started in this one.
Yeah.
It's like the lowest rated player on both squads was Bruno Guimaraes. Love to see it.
Yeah, I think he starts it. I think, honestly, he's the core of that problem. And I see he had it sounds like one of his errors led to directly one of the goals. I mean, he's just not been good for I'd say a run of games into last season. So, I don't know.
Dude, there were rumors that teams were going to splash $90 million for this.
True,
this guy.
Yeah. We're not far from removed from that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, they don't have a lot of injuries.
No, they even get Tonali back from his extended vacation.
Yeah. Caleb Wilson is injured, but he's always injured.
So yeah, I mean, statistically, yeah, I think I was being a bit too fair to Newcastle. They're not really in a title hunt. Nobody's in any danger in the top 5, to be honest. I don't think of Newcastle unless something really starts to change with the dynamic in that team.
Yeah, they sort of embarrassingly made no moves in the offseason.
Well, they basically spent all their money the last 2 seasons, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I know that they are they came in and PSR was implemented practically right on the heels of their ownership there, and they've been very frustrated by that, and they're struggling to free up the ceiling for them to go and acquire the players that they need. But they have an average starting 11 age of 28.5 years old, and yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't seem like an upward trajectory.
Yeah,
I think is where you're going with this.
Seems like a very thin squad.
Stagnated. Yeah,
they really hard committed to trying to pry Mark Gahey from Crystal Palace, and failed to do that.
Yeah,
and so they
that would
did
have helped
basically
extent,
nothing to strengthen their team, and we absolutely fleeced them. Now I think Lewis Hall he's going to be a decent player, but as of right now, I think we got 30 million euros.
Yeah,
for
you
him.
need to be starting in that price range.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Well, speaking of fleecing, we gave West Ham a real fleecing.
The business
yesterday.
What a match to watch.
Doesn't feel good to be on the business end of Clear Lake, does it?
No, not at all. Nico
Especially if you
Jackson
show up in jeans to a suit fight with a couple
oh man,
multinational PE bros.
Is that who it was? West Ham, the coach
I thought so. I could be wrong about that. Wasn't it? Yeah, no, I think that was it. Yeah, I think it was the West Ham coach was wearing the jeans yesterday.
I don't. So that was
just
the scandal.
A bit too
West
casual,
Ham.
just like
it was.
Just like their play on the field. But what are you going to do when you're going against?
Posted this. People are losing their minds. The West Ham manager wore jeans on the touchline, dressed down Saturday.
You were. I think you were still trying to rehydrate your replenish your bodily fluids after Nico's brace and assist yesterday. That was probably why you didn't have much of a reaction to that.
Yeah, I was.
You're gonna want to keep drinking water for the next 24 hours.
Yeah. I was in a state of absolute euphoria about this. Two great finishes for different reasons. Tunneling the keeper on one, and a strong take on the second, and then assist to Cole Palmer that just nobody could have made. It's like one of the greatest assists I've ever seen.
I was gonna jump in and say that
that finish from Palmer was class. That was such a good finish, and I do think Nico. For a guy who struggles with finishing, I thought those were two really good finishes for him. But that goal by Cole Palmer, who I think was struggling to find an influence on this match to that point. Yeah. What a finish. He is fucking brilliant, man. What a class finish from Palmer.
Yeah, I think that's an important takeaway, not to diminish, right? Even in a game, and I think this is an attribute of somebody like Kevin De Bruyne, where a game where they're taken out of the game or the flow doesn't go their way, they still find a way to make an impact, or they're have that moment in a game and seize it. That's kind of where Palmer's had at the moment, right? It doesn't take much. We saw that last season. It doesn't take much for him to have an outweighed impact on the game. In this game, it was really just that one play, because it was the Nico show the rest of the time, and I think Nico's shown a lot of growth this season in terms of decision making, and in particular where I faulted him before in terms of being able to carry the ball up the field and make the right pass or a good pass, and certainly he was firing on all cylinders. It's tough to pick out anything where he put a foot wrong yesterday, I thought. And I've certainly been critical of his lack of consistency in those areas, but and then finishing on top of that, right? So I think he definitely proved me wrong in terms of Nkuku needing to get more minutes up there as a starter potentially. I think we still have great cover with Nkuku behind him. But Nico seems to have really cemented what this starting four should look like.
Did you see from Maresca's press conference, he laid out in very specific detail
the
who was
substitution
playing
patterns?
Yeah, and who was playing what positions.
I saw somebody recap that,
And it was...
I think it was what I thought it was going to be. Yeah,
it was exactly what I've been saying it was. And when put that way, Sancho makes complete sense. The acquisition of Sancho, because it's him and Misha Mudryk on the left, who we may never see again.
Well, that was the one. That was the first thing I read in the most surprising piece. Because you're right, the rest of it made sense.
Yeah. Because
I'm assuming like between Neto and Felix or some combination of him, like whoever the other available sub is, that's who's there providing cover in a given game.
Yeah.
Because Mudryk may not get on the field. But again, like, we're playing in the Carabao Cup. We're playing in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Fine, like the FA Cup has all this history. Nobody gives a shit other than Manchester United in the Carabao Cup. Like, Mudryk should be playing every Carabao Cup match.
Yep. And I think he will.
This European competition that we're in, whatever that is that Palmer's not playing in, Mudryk should probably play in every one of those games.
Yeah, so Sancho, to further Luke's nightmare, assisted one of the goals to Nico. So Sancho now in his first, I guess at the half. Yeah, I made the statement at the half. So in a match and a half, he has 2 goal involvements. And I mean, just looks. I mean, I vastly prefer him to Mudryk.
Yeah.
And
the edgewise play, right? He's generating goals.
Yep.
Right. And on top of that, every time he touches the ball, he's completing a dribble and he's completing a pass, and he's not getting dispossessed every time. Like the guy is like a fucking clock.
Yeah.
Right. Even more so than Madueke. Like Madueke, you can say is a more dangerous dribbler and does some other things, but like Sancho does not lose the fucking ball, and he progresses it basically every time he gets it out there.
Yep. Yeah. I think that for £20 million, that's going to be an absolute sniping.
That should be worth at least 5 or 10 financial fair play charges. That because it's highway robbery.
Yeah. And all of this is Ten Hag's doing. You couldn't tell me that these Dutch players that they're buying aren't due to Ten Hag's influence. And none of them are good. None of them have come good.
Xerxes trash.
Antony.
Antony's not Dutch, though.
Yeah, but he came from the Dutch league. He
played did he?
He played at Ajax for Ten Hag. De Ligt.
I forgot that,
yeah. De Ligt, who I believe, what's his name? Oh, God. Why can't I think of his name? The giant Dutch defender on Liverpool.
Oh, Van Dijk?
Van Dijk, I think it was De Ligt. Van Dijk just put on blast for his performance for the Dutch team.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Like, and then Ten Hag isolates and forces Jadon Sancho out of the team for peanuts to a rival. I hope he stays there forever. I hope he is the coach, the manager of United forever. But I don't know how people aren't asking some serious questions around there.
United fans have a tendency, I found, not to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Like, they want to be just left to ruin their own, filth at this point. Is the only thing I can discern from it.
What is that, that phenomena where you're too stupid to realize how much you don't, the Dunning-Kruger effect? Where
I'm not intelligent enough to know these terms, but yeah.
It's like smart people are smart enough to know how much they don't know.
Oh, I call it the cost of knowing. There's no cost of knowing as a United fan. Because you know nothing. All you know is this shit pile that for as long back as we've had this pod, at least, right?
Yeah.
And well before that.
All right. I want to call a few players out in this one. We're over an hour.
Oh, okay. This is just the Ryan's award show. Okay, got it.
No. It's not an award show. Enzo Fernandez, I thought, was awful in this match.
It wasn't good, but
not only did I think he was bad, had like next to no influence on the match, he went in for a tackle. I forget on who, where if he had connected, it would have been a straight red. Like, I think Steve in our Discord said that was the type of move he does in FIFA when he's frustrated.
Oh, Alex! I think it was Alex said that. Yeah, yeah. Somebody gets by you and you just hit the slide.
Yeah.
Straight through the 12 stutter right through the back ankle.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know what was wrong with Enzo in this match. The fact that we're giving him the captain's armband, like everything around Enzo Fernandez, I'm calling into question. I don't know. Like, he's not a natural fit for this system. And once Lavia gets healthy, I don't know. I could see him getting dropped for Lavia, because Lavia Caicedo pairing is much more natural for these two eights, I think, is what they're deploying here.
I could see that going either way. Yeah, I don't know. Yesterday, I'm not going to get too concerned about it until I see another two stinkers in a row. But yesterday he was probably the sorest spot on the squad.
Yeah. Caicedo, by contrast, had an insane game. He was everywhere. I just thought he was incredible in this match.
Yep.
Fofana standing in for Reece James and Malagusto, both injured. I thought he was a little exposed. He looked a lot better when he had to cover over there in their previous match. Who was that against? I can't even remember anymore. But he looked a lot better coming in or shifting over there for Disasi when that disaster happened.
Yeah, he's looked good out there.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, Disasi makes an appearance somehow in this game again, and so the only thing I can guess is that somehow there's a connection between P. Diddy and Clear Lake, and Disasi's in the middle of it. Because I don't. How else are you getting in a game after that fucking performance?
I think Disasi is the biggest whiff on a player for this new ownership so far. Yeah, I don't know. The last thing I want to call out is Robert Sanchez he's
a Premier League goalkeeper.
Really well.
Is he an upper echelon Premier League goalkeeper?
He's got a string of matches now where he has just played out of his fucking mind. And it's definitely making me question some statements I've made.
Things I've got on record on the past.
Yeah.
Let my record show I've revised my opinion on Robert Sanchez.
Yeah, I'm not ready to revise it yet, but he is starting to turn me into a believer. He has looked really solid back there. There's been some sketchy, like when he's trying to play the ball at his feet. As we build out from the back, there have been some sketchy touches here and there, but yeah. The last thing with this match is you thought that a penalty should have been awarded with Fofana dragging, was it Somerville down in the box?
How quickly I forgot about this after I started drinking yesterday.
Yeah, well, that was 8 a.m.
Yeah. So. Well, the mind erasing didn't happen until the afternoon, but
gotcha.
Yeah, I didn't. So I don't like. I think it comes back to consistency too. I think there's this pattern of too much like illegal contact in the box on corners and in general. Especially with grabbing and holding. And like I have much more of a problem with somebody grabbing and holding somebody than I do any other type of foul. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just like way off base on that. But to me, like it's very obvious that you're doing something to impede another player illegally when you've grasped their jersey or their arm or something. And this one, he grabbed the arm. Like, regardless of how hard he pulled him down, like, I think it's an easy way to clean up the game to just say there's no holding in the box. And, like, you get into this, like, bear hug stuff and whatever, and I can see that being more ambiguous, right? But, like, I that's, to me, the quintessential easy hold call, when you've got somebody's arm in your grasp and you've pulled on it, and regardless of how much force is applied, like, it doesn't matter at that point. You shouldn't be allowed to grab your opponent.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one outraged about this. It didn't seem to be much talked about.
I think I agree with you, but I couldn't have complained if that was awarded as a penalty. I think it would have been a fair call if it was awarded as a penalty. But the referee on the pitch, so this is just something that fans are going to have to accept. This is my my issue with auditing the call on the field.
Yeah.
Is the fans last season, VAR was rolled out and calls were being labored over.
Yeah, we were just watching VAR for 20% of the match.
Yeah. And to address that, the league has said that the VAR reviews have to be much faster, and they're to defer unless there's a serious reason, something was seriously missed. They are to defer to the call on the field.
Yeah.
And so the blame in this scenario, to me, is not on VAR. It's on the ref on the field. So I think had it been called as a penalty, there would have been nothing to overturn that call. And it's just one of those real gray area things where, like, if the ref on the field didn't believe that there was enough contact for a call, then there's not going to be enough in VAR to overturn it either. Like, the call could have truly gone either way for me. And luckily it broke our way, because it would have been a very different game, I think, if that penalty had been awarded. Although Rob Sanchez is a goddamn wall at this point, so who knows? He probably would have just
why
saved
does it even matter?
Yeah. That's probably why he called it the way he did. He was like, I'm just going to spare us all having to watch Sanchez make this save right now.
Juice his stats further.
Yeah. All right, you have any other topics you want to cover? Is that about do it for this week?
I think, that was. I don't know if you caught any of the midweek scores, but I mean that we could. I think we kind of set our piece in the new Champions League format. But I do think call-outs there. Pulisic continues to cook in Serie A, and then also had a good goal midweek versus Liverpool. Ultimately, they lost because AC Milan's kind of sucks and their defense is trash. But he did have a nice snipe against the Liverpool defense to start that game off. Duran, who we talked about for Villa, continues to kind of chug along. He had a goal called back for a handball. That was a really nice goal, which was unfortunate, but he's continuing to look the part there. So outside of that, not a whole lot of news I don't know, from my perspective. I mean, again, there were 35 shots, I think, in the City Inter game, 0 goals. So, like, I don't know. It's a lot of minutes for good players on both sides to just get nothing out of it. But yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, dude, this guy Duran, he's still scoring. We checked this last week. He's scoring every 33 minutes that he plays across all competitions. I didn't look at the stats of
the Villa Wolves game because Wolves
he scored in
sucks
that
right now. Okay, so he did score in the 90 in the stoppage time. Nice,
Chelsea really tried to pry him from Villa, and I think they're going to be really happy they didn't allow that to happen. This dude is the real deal.
They had McGinn start over him? That's interesting.
What?
They kind of weird. I don't know if that format. I'm just looking at the Villa formation from the start of this game against Wolves. Well, Duran's playing on the left anyways. They had McGinn as a right attacking mid. I don't know. Probably not even worth discussing. I don't think he's going to play a lot of minutes at that, unless that's where he's been playing. But I thought he was playing central midfield mostly.
Who, Duran?
McGinn.
Oh.
Oh, will say, actually interesting, the man of the match in that one was Tielemans. Tielemans looked like washed up and like a has-been last season. He seems to have found a fit in the system, is playing really well. They had him playing central midfield here. I know maybe that's a more effective position for him, but he's been picking out some really nice passes in particular and got an assist in this one. So that's something, I don't know, the kind of the rich getting richer there. I mean, Villa's in good shape. Definitely looks like they're a team threatening for the top three at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, they pick him up. Is that who they picked up from Everton?
I can tell you where he was. That sounds plausible.
Yeah.
What's his history? Nah, he was at Leicester.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're right. Yep. All right. Well, that's a pod. Lots of great matches this weekend. If you're casual, you don't catch the matches every week. Casual fan of the sport. Very good weekend to just go catch a couple games if you've got some downtime. Highly recommend it. The Chelsea game's fun. Villa game was fun. Liverpool just kind of dominated in their fixture. But yeah, anyway, we'll be back next week. Luke might be here. We'll see. Until then, please like and subscribe, leave reviews. All of that stuff helps us out. Join our Discord, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Thanks, everybody.